All right, French and Indian War, let's go. It's a war between England and France, and both are going to have little helpers that fight on their side. If you look at the bottom, the reason why the war started here, the last bullet point, is because both colonies were expanding and they bumped into each other, and neither wanted to give, and both wanted to keep expanding, so therefore you have a fight. The French are going to have the natives on their side, which is where we get the French and Indian War name from. The English are going to have the colonists on their side. The colonists, a lot of them were either born in England or their parents were born in England. Therefore, they'd want to fight for the English government. The beginning of the war starts with a small battle by a guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, maybe not, George Washington. He loses a small battle on the English and French border, and this is going to be the start of the battles. Now, the background on the French. The French had a better relations with the natives because the natives wanted to, or the French wanted to live with and work with the natives. The English, write this down, I would write this down, the English wanted to conquer and move the natives away. So French wanted to live with, the English wanted to conquer the natives. Now, because they had help from the natives, the French were very successful early on. And the second reason why is because, I'd write this down, is because the French were introduced to guerrilla warfare from the natives. We talked about this in class today, the whole idea of doing whatever it takes to win, hiding, sneak attacks, whatever you need to do to win. That style was introduced by the French, or to the French from the natives, and it helped a ton. Okay? The turning point, however, in the war is when the Iroquois, the largest and most populated Native American tribe in North America, jump over to help with the British because of a new commander put in charge by the king named William Pitt. This dude helped get the British a bunch of victories, and when they started winning, the Iroquois jumped over. Most of the natives were starting to jump over to the British side once they started to win because they were genuinely afraid that the English government would treat them so poorly when the war was over if they weren't on their side. Because of the alliance with the Iroquois, the British controlled almost all of Canada and all of the colonies over to the Mississippi River. So in class today, I don't know if you guys heard, breaking news, so Sherman was over there in the corner whining about his poor little fantasy football team, couldn't get the win, and he spent 30 minutes not paying attention. So if anybody wants to be the good person here, they can go over and help Sherman out. One, console him, and two, give him all the notes and stuff that he missed in class today. So here's a map. Left-hand side, you have a map of British territory purple, French territory gold. Okay, so France actually has probably a lot more desirable territory. On the right-hand side, you see what happens after the French and Indian War is over when the British win. They have all of the land from, like you can see here, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River and north, which is a huge thing for the British government. After the war was over, there were a couple little skirmishes between natives and English, which was not well received from the English government. Here's a couple things that the British did that weren't very good, super unethical. But what they did was they gave a bunch of Native Americans blankets that were infected with smallpox during negotiations to try to weaken a lot of these tribes so that they were more likely to say yes to treaties that were basically going to rip them off of their land. So eventually they're going to sign the document that I showed you the map of on the previous page that said this is land that the colonies are going to now have. Okay, so here's what happens to the British and the colonial relationship. We talked about the Navigation Acts and the Salutary Neglect and how they had a pretty peaceful relationship and things were going well because we had the whole land plus money equals power equation. Well, here's what happened. The colonists thought, because they fought with the British government, that they were going to get a bunch of kind of kickbacks and rewards. And because, this is a huge point, most important point of the slideshow, is because England was in debt from war, they took it out on the colonists. So what they did was they increased taxes on all of the goods being shipped, and they cracked down on all the Navigation Acts. So pause it, write that down, that the British government taxed and cracked down on the Navigation Acts to help pay for debt that they accumulated. Now, if you're a colonist, you're thinking, this is a total ripoff because we're the ones that helped you win the war, so you should have been rewarding us. And because the relationship was getting worse, England housed 10,000 troops in the colonies, which was not something that the colonists thought was a good deal. They were super, super upset by this. Okay, so just to review the slideshow very quickly, you had the colonists and England fighting France and the natives. Both were trying to expand. Beginning of the war was marked by George Washington's debut. Then you had kind of the beginning. France was having a bunch of success because of the natives and guerrilla warfare. The turning point was new leadership and a lot of the native groups joining over to the British side. Then you have the map that shows you what the Proclamation Line of 1763 awarded the English government. And you have some of the things that happened after the war and the worsening of the colony and British relationship. So that's all we have. Chances are when you come back to class, there's a quiz because that's just what we do. Have a good night. Complete section 4, please, and we'll see you tomorrow.